Hi, I'm JC and I am still a beginner knitter, but I have a couple things that I have completed that I wanted to show you and talk a little bit about what I am knitting this winter and why, and also why I love knitting and slow hobbies. So let's get right into some of the projects that I've recently finished. This is actually a crochet project, but I just have to show you. It is a crocheted laptop case that I felted. It was kind of an estimating project. I didn't really know how it was going to turn out, and it was a little big, so I just cut off the edge and it actually worked out really great. So it's just a big rectangle that I crocheted together and felted in the washing machine, and then I did it by hand for a little bit until it got to the right size. It fits my laptop perfectly. I really love it. The next project, which is my most recently finished knitting project, is this loon sweater. It is made with Cascade Woolpaca yarn. It is super plush, cozy. I love the color. This is my first color work. This is the second sweater I've ever knit. So if you're wondering if you want to get into color work and you're a beginner knitter, this is your sign. You can do it. There's plenty of YouTube videos to show you how to do it. Plus, if you're in Minnesota, you should probably knit this sweater. This is the Minnesota state bird, the loon. It's not a duck, it's a loon. And just super cozy. I just want to put this on, cozy up by a fireplace, and read a good book. That's like what this sweater feels like to me. Then here is my very first, it's a little dirty, very first knit sweater. This is made with the Drops Nepali yarn. It is a little bit scratchy, so this was my lesson in that, well, it was my first sweater ever, so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and I'm totally content with the type of yarn that it is, given it was my first sweater. But definitely taught me the importance of investing in good yarn if you want it to be something that you actually want to wear all the time. So I do wear a tank top underneath of it, and that helps, but it's really around the neck. I think the neck is so sensitive. So not really my go-to sweater, but I love the color and I love the fit. I like to wear high-waisted pants, and it's more of a cropped boxy sweater. So this is a step-by-step sweater by Knitting by Florence with the Drops Nepal. It's a wool and alpaca blend yarn. It's what the pattern calls for. So this is my very first sweater. So if you're looking for your very first sweater to knit, this is super doable. There is a YouTube video that walks you through the whole process. There's no reason you cannot knit a sweater. Just saying, you can do it. But yeah, so I am just loving knitting sweaters and things that I can wear. I'm also looking forward to more of the spring. I want to knit more t-shirts and lighter weight tops. I have some lighter weight yarn, like cotton yarn, that I think would make for a great top that is more lightweight and summery. I really want to get into more natural fibers for clothing in general. I'm slowly transitioning, so I'm very conscious of the things that I buy at this point, but I do have a large part of my wardrobe that is those old, polyester synthetic fabrics that I just don't really want in my life anymore moving forward. So I'm looking at, trying to do more wool and merino and different blends that are just more natural. Cotton, especially organic cotton. The yarn is out there, and if you want to spend the time making your own garments, you can, and that's kind of what I've been loving. I love the accomplishment and the feeling of creating something with my own hands that I've made with high quality ingredients or yarn, and something that hopefully, as long as my cats don't destroy it, should last me many, many years. And it is truly an investment, especially if you buy really good yarn. So, for example, this sweater probably cost me $30 for the yarn, which is so cheap. Like each ball of yarn was like $2. And I went through like 10, but I bought extra. I don't know, the loon sweater, that yarn probably cost about $100 and the pattern was $10. So it is seriously an investment, but these are hopefully pieces that'll be in my wardrobe for the rest of my life. I don't know about this one, but when you invest in the quality of the materials, I think that it will hopefully stand the test of time. I also really wanted to show you quick what I'm currently working on. I'm working on the Sweet Weekend sweater by Drops Design. I think that's what it's called. So check out this beautiful green color. This so far feels like it's going to be pretty soft. It's the Lana Grossa. Let me find the tag here, but it's two different types of yarn held together. So this is an alpaca silk blend, and then this is a merino. It's their Merino Uno yarn. And they're Lana Grossa, made in Italy, muslin free. So far it feels like pretty good quality. It's not terribly expensive. I bought it on the same website that I bought the Drops and Haul, so it's shipped over. I'll put a little picture on the screen of what this sweater pattern looks like. It's just kind of a bulky turtleneck. It looks super cozy. There are a lot of trending sweaters out there right now. People are knitting, you know, all these patterns, and they're all very similar, and they're paying for the patterns, which I have nothing against, you know, supporting an artist that spent a lot of time creating a beautiful pattern, you know, such as a loom sweater. But I don't know, you spend so much money on the yarn, and there are a lot of really quality free patterns out there. So if you don't want to spend money on the pattern, Drops has a ton of patterns. It was a little challenge starting in on it and figuring out how to read a pattern, but I imagine that's the case for, you know, any different sweater that you try. Every designer is probably going to write a little bit differently. So it's totally doable. You know, we've got the internet at our fingertips, all this information, and the information is out there. So I cannot wait to add some more pops of color into my wardrobe. I've probably put about 5 hours into this already, and it's really, you know, that's one of the big lessons in knitting, is just patience and the reward from spending so much time and energy on something, and you get such a beautiful result. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you make a mistake and then you have to pull out hours worth of work, but it's all part of the process. And I think that we're so in this mindset, this day and age of immediate gratification. We have all these videos and information at our fingertips that we can access immediately. And then you've got this, you know, hobby that takes a long time to learn and a long time to knit and complete a project. It is the ultimate test of patience. I'm sure there's other better tests of patience out there in the world, but I just, every time I work on my projects, I'm like, this is a test of patience. Also, you know, there's all these people out there that talk about things that are good for your brain, you know, like puzzles and reading and learning and things like that. And I think that knitting is so good for your brain. Now, I don't have the science to just pull off, but I have heard from other people that it is really good for your brain. And I feel like it is, because it is not necessarily easy to learn. And each time you start a project, you have to kind of like coordinate all these things. You have to have the right size yarn with the right size needles and, you know, the pattern that you actually want to create. So it takes me a long time to figure out what pattern I want to make, and then line it up with, you know, the type of yarn that I purchased and all of that, because I'm not like, you know, I don't think of the pattern and then buy the yarn for it necessarily. I did for the loom sweater, but you know, it's just a lot of coordinating. And then once you get the pattern, to decipher it and to learn it and to read it and to figure out what to do. And a lot of times you might have a stitch that you have to figure out, like a certain type of increase or decrease, and you have to go look it up, and you have to remember every time you're on that specific row to decrease every 5 rows or whatever it is. So it's like all these different elements that your mind is just trying to think about and remember. And so I'm like, it's got to be good for your brain. So I think that it's good for you. It's healthy to knit. So you should really do it more. I should do it more. Everyone should do it more. And I'm not just talking about knitting either. Like, there are so many slow hobbies: crocheting, quilting, sewing, making your own clothes, gardening, these different things that are just really amazing practices in letting your mind, you know, work its magic, and also just be patient and wait and learn and grow and just go through all the different steps that you need to get to that end product, to that reward. You know, when we're on our phones, we get the reward right away, and then we just scroll to the next video. You know, we watch it for 5 seconds and we figure out what happens, and then we go to the next one. And I think it's like shortening our attention span. So I think that knitting is such a healthy practice to slow down. So I've been trying to meditate a little bit more lately, and sometimes I knit instead of meditate, and I don't think it's a perfect excuse, but it's just a time for your mind to just not really think about anything, especially when you get in the groove. Sometimes you're in a process in the knitting project where you got to think about it. But if you're just knitting the stockinette stitch row after row after row, it's just therapeutic, it's meditative, and you don't really think about anything. You can't really think too long about anything else because you're kind of focused, but also just, I don't know, just in your own little zone. You're in the flow. And also your mind isn't going from one thing to the next. So it's like just calming. I don't know. So I think that it is so important at this point in time with the technology that we have at our fingertips to find things that we enjoy doing that slow us down a little bit, that bring us a sense of calm and peace. And hobbies can be stressful at times when you mess up. And I think that's a lesson in life, is to fall down and get back up again. But I think that if we can find out more of the things that we like to do that bring us joy, such as going for a hike, sewing, quilting, crocheting, knitting, embroidery, baking, cooking, like all these things, we can spend less time doing things that a lot of us don't want to do. A lot of us spend more time on our phones than we actually want to. But rather than get mad at ourselves about spending that time on our phone, why don't we focus more on the things that we want to spend more time doing, and then you'll automatically spend less time on your phone. That's what I think. I'm still learning. I still spend more time on my phone than I'd like to sometimes, but that's what I love about knitting. I get excited to do it, and I don't have to force myself to do it, but when I'm doing it, I'm definitely not on my phone. But yeah, I don't know. If you are a knitter and you have another lesson that you've learned throughout the process that you've been knitting, I'd love to hear it. I'd love for you to share it in the comments. And that's all I have for today. So I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching.